already gone through or tried or at least started to do, okay? So, have you done the residential permit request? Can you raise up your hand? So not raise up your hand if it is a, okay, there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, not many. 20 groups of 3 people, so you are saying that there are 60 people in this room.
Because the first one is empty, so it's 90.
No, that's okay, but 90 means 57 people here. I don't see 57 people, but that's a good news eventually.
There are some groups of 2 people for coverage of
Okay. Okay, so but you did not yet complete with the person who is supporting Davide, the creation of the groups. Not yet. So actually there is a date in the syllabus, there is a date in which you definitely define the groups. Has this happened? No.
I think he said that the next class, so we started making the groups last class. And
Okay, next, so on Thursday eventually. Okay, so I will use it, but in the meanwhile I need to know. So some of you went through the request for the residential permit. Okay. Did anybody ask for the fiscal number, the fiscal code? Okay, good enough. Then, this is not a good news, but I would like to know, have you, did anybody needed any healthcare service? Did you book a visit or did you book any appointment with doctors? Anybody needed to make a test, bloody test? No. Yes, so, okay, this is not many enough. What else? Did anybody need to open a bank account? In Italy, obviously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's good. Wait a second. Okay, this is also a bit strange. Did anybody of you ask for the validation of the driving license? No. Okay, I will forget this. Another one. Did anybody of you ask for the ID card in Italy? 1, 2. You are Erasmus student? No. Okay, you as well. Hello, hello, hello. You are not an Erasmus student. You are Polimi student. Okay. So I can give for granted that if foreign students stay with us a couple of years, they need the ID card. Okay, that's a good topic. Very complex, huh? An adventure, I know. It was for me, an adventure. So, what about the electronic identity? Did any of you ask for it? Okay, you? Hello, hello, hello? Did you ask for the electronic identity, the so-called SPID?
Yes.
Yes. No one. Okay, so this is a good. So, is there any of these procedures that I have completely forgot that you were compelled to go through once you came here?
Residential?
Yeah, the residential permit. Yeah. Without that, you would never be able to ask
No,
for.
also we have to do something, the contracts to be illegal, so we got something which we call it residential, and then you can ask for ID card.
But this when you call residenza,
No residence permit, resident.
residence certificate.
Yes.
This was asked by anybody else?
they ask for a contract that you're living somewhere.
I know,
So,
but
I
this
don't know.
can be really crazy.
I know.
Also because actually the legal procedure is exactly the same for everybody to sign the contract and register the contract. But usually the registration of the contract is on the, let's say, on the responsibility of the apartment owner. Is not on you, which is can be quite crazy, but this is not on you, I guess. And you may have walked through different access points so you may have contacted an agency, or you may have, you know, navigated online renting messages, like to say, offers or things like this. So this is not a unique procedure, just the signature of the contract and the payment of the registration fee. So I don't know whether this is a
I don't know,
good
I
thing.
was thinking that what you meant.
No, I guess you asked to get the ID card, you have asked for the residential certificate. Yeah, that's different. And what about the residential certificate? Did anybody? No. You didn't ask for that. Okay, so I will try to understand. Is there any other procedure that I am completely forgetting that you, as Erasmus students, have been asked to go through? Okay, the visa is from your country. Or did you get any timber, any crazy things in the Italian? Health insurance. Yes, but this is for you, not for the Erasmus students. Was this for the Erasmus students to get an health insurance?
I had to.
You had to. And you get it in Italy?
No.
No, you get it abroad. No. Let's demonstrate that we are not welcoming. Come on. Huh? I like this. Okay, so I will understand how to deal with it, because these services are not many, and I don't want to enter other crazy topics like, change your, and this is also for those who are here for a shorter time. So you are in contact with very large groups of foreign students. Yes. Huh? Yes. Okay. So eventually, if you agree, we can do it this way. There are not many services, and you are 19 groups. I don't have 19 services that are relevant for the kind of applications we want to do. So I will now think of a mechanism in which each group has got different tasks, so that we can create clusters of groups working on the same services but with a different scope. Is that okay for you? Yes? So so we can combine what comes out from the different groups to say how bad those services work, okay? I will think of it. Okay, now let's go. So the today lecture is already online in the BIP. So next week I can be ready for the groups, right? My God, this room is terribly hot.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm not sure about the groups because this Wednesday it's graduation day, right? Or not?
This Wednesday,
Yes.
I don't know, March, are you sure?
Yeah, but just for the bachelor's, so probably on the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. But if it is in the syllabus, it means that the consistency with those dates is controlled.
Okay.
Okay, so don't be afraid. It is there. Oh my God, where is it? Okay, there you go. I will try to stay seated today because if I start walking, I get too far from the microphone. Okay, let's try whether it works. So, first of all, as we said in the last days, when we talk about smart cities, we usually refer to services. Huh? So, as you can well understand, service is a very wide concept. It's not how to say. Sometimes it's very difficult to give a definition of what service is. I don't know, a process that is there to provide responses to citizens' needs, eventually. So, is something that is there to provide responses to citizens' needs. What is important is that you understand that there are basic needs, and when we talk about these basic needs and eventual services which are there to guarantee these basic needs, the fact that they should work very well is fundamental. We refer to services considering them as processes. So somehow they are complicated mechanisms, not complex because we design them, come on, it's not like nature and complexity of environmental systems, but they may be quite complicated, and usually we talk about them as products, not in the sense we talk of this as a product, so they are not tangible. They may have some tangible points when we talk about this, but usually they are intangible products. So it's very difficult. You may understand them completely only if you see a perfect blueprint of one service, which is very difficult to be represented. Some of you are familiar with the blueprint of architecture, no? Or blueprint of a car. I don't know how many mechanical engineers we have that, but we can have blueprints of, you know what a blueprint is? All of you, yeah? You know why they are called the blueprints?
It was printed in blue before.
Yeah,
And it had white.
because they were, thermic sensitive paper, sort of. Okay. So, we talk about them as intangible product. Some of them may obviously work and guarantee their functions only if some material infrastructures are there, but this is not always the case. Not always the case. It sometimes happens that they need material infrastructure. What is very important is that we may have availability, let's say, or the conditions for a service to be used, but it exists. This is fundamental. It exists only if and when a user gets through it, gains the benefits that the services are supposed to guarantee through their working. This is fundamental, especially in relation to our to the work you are asked to do for this module, because you know they say that okay, you can ask for the residential permit, but if it is impossible to go through that, it's obviously you are not granting the service, you are just making it very difficult, okay? So for us it's very important the fact that the services exists only when this response to the need they are supposed to respond to are completed. Is completed, is provided, is granted, is there. And also, in this respect, services are, as we say, instantaneous. But this is because, obviously, you can understand if you consider, for example, delivery systems. We were talking a few days, I think at lecture number 1, we were talking about the delivery of food during the COVID. This changed a lot. Well, this delivery, if I order a pizza, it cannot come 1 month later. Or if I need a residential permit, it cannot take 2 years, which happens. If you go for familiar reconjunction request, so you are an immigrant, a regular one, and the fact that we live with our own families is a basic human right, is a fundamental human right. So all over the world, more or less, it should be granted that we can ask for, as immigrants, we can ask for our family to come, to join us, to reach us in the hosting country. And this procedure is so complex that it may take a couple of years. Not to tell you something about the fact that when you enter a country illegally, because you escape from your own, and you have more or less immediately asked to get the so-called asylum, and you make the request, you become legally an asylum seeker. But this kind of a figure, this manner to be a citizen, is not giving you a complete citizenship. We will talk about this. So you are no longer in illegal, but not totally legal. So your right, for example, to work is not recognized. And if it takes 2 years for this asylum to be provided, oh my girls and boys, this means that you stay a couple of years without job. This destroys your CV. This destroys your skills development. This destroys everything. So you spend a couple of years in places which are not even very nice, for dedicated to asylum seekers, which take people in a sort of suspended life. So it's very important that we put together the fact that there is a time for need and a time for the response to be given. Now, when we talk about service design and the fact that usually they come in response of needs, we need to understand how this design works. Because it's not, it's a bit different, so it's always a design job, but it's a bit different from the design we know, because we have to take care of things that very often do not appear. It's like when you enter a building, you don't have a clear understanding of the electrical network that is providing electricity to the building, or the water distribution system that is there, because it's hidden, is inside the walls, is underground, so you are missing some portions. It's the same with services. We are missing very often the most of it. Differently from architecture, we are missing the most of it. We see the top of the iceberg with services. We don't see what is behind the water, the level of the water. So, when we talk about service design, we talk about planning and organizing people from both sides, from the service delivery side and from the service use side, because we compel users to do a very specific job to go through it, to gain these benefits, to use the services. We also talk about eventual material or immaterial infrastructures. For example, with the smart cities, one immaterial infrastructure that is there thanks to some material infrastructures is the data flow. We have to know how data should move all around to guarantee that things happen. Communication, part of it is related to information adequacy in the model that you will apply to assess the quality of those procedures. Obviously, material components of the services. And this is all these dimensions, organizing and planning people, what is the necessary infrastructure, how do we communicate it, what are the components of these services. This may affect the quality of services, so we need to design a very complex mechanisms and the quality of the interaction between service provider and customers. And we also say that we design the so-called user or customer experience. So, as when you design an apartment, and you define some functions of this apartment, and you place windows in very specific positions of this apartment, this is also for you, no? So eventually you can plan, can design, I don't know, a toilet or a storage room without windows, right? But it would be really strange to design a dining room without a window, right? And this is because we associate some specific quality of the experience in that kind of spaces. And this here it's more or less the same, more or less. Obviously, is less, is less in our daily life. So to gain the experience about services and how to design a service in the correct manner is very difficult. The results of this very difficult job is that either you have a dining room without windows, and this is part of a problem, or that you have such a bad service that it doesn't work. It does not guarantee, unless they become crazy, the responses to the citizens' need, at least in an easy manner. If you think about Milano. Let's talk about mobility in Milano. How can you get the right to use trams, buses, or whatever else is there? Metro station, the rail system, urban system. How do you get this right? Think about, what do you do? You buy a ticket, okay, so already important is that if you have never been there, okay, this is very intuitive, no? So we know that more or less we have to buy a ticket. This can happen in Southern America, in Kenya, in, I don't know, in China or wherever, and in Europe eventually, okay? So, do you know where to buy the tickets?
The first time.
Forget metro, because when we enter the metro station, we know where to buy, no? Forget the metro. If you got to get the bus, how do you do that? Where do you buy it? Come on. Go. Tabak. Okay. Did you get, how do you recognize that they sell a ticket? Or they can sell tickets? Okay, you develop an experience-based, so eventually word of mouth, this could be, and many services rely on the word of mouth. Huh? This is not good, but that's what happens. So if you enter the station, do you know that you can pay with credit cards directly, the ticket? Also, it happened to me to be charged of amounts that I cannot understand. I was charged of 2,080 once. I don't know why. Also, I was charged of 5.6 euros. Don't know why. One step, one way. So I stopped to use the card because I don't have time to go to ATM point and to ask, hey, what have you done there? Because I have no other chance to get any understanding of why these were the charges. And the information they release on your credit card is not explaining the argument, explaining the amount. So I stopped to use the card. To me, this is so. All these points, the tobacco, the machine that are selling the tickets, no? Or the ticket office in the metro station, because that's it. We can. No, eventually in some train station we get the ATM points out of the metro station. All these things are called touch points in services. Those are the interfaces between us, between the users and the services. And designing this touch point was an adventure. Why? Because we need to understand the touch point, to understand what is needed. For example, last week I was in a hurry. I had a ticket to be recharged, a sort of card from Trenord, because I used to teach in Bovisa. And if I start from Piola, no problem, I get there. If I start from there, I cannot use an ATM ticket. Don't ask me why. So I had to buy a Trenord card, and this Trenord card can be recharged on the machine, the automatic vending machine. I could not understand where to put this rechargeable ticket to get a new one to go and pick up the metro. Okay, so what is also important is the information adequacy. That if I am in front of a touch point, I need to understand what to do. And if you may remember that, there are very well known in the world of design, of service design, there are very well known comics. There are people in front of, this early computers that you should use to make a ticket eventually, full of post-it explaining what every button is useful for, what to do with each button, with the numbers, do first this, then that, then that, then that. When things like this are necessary for touch points, we say that the services interfaces have not been designed adequately. So they have not been designed well. Okay? Can you imagine if behind any touch point is a procedure much more complex than buying a ticket? So the smartness of our cities is also related to the manner in which we guarantee this accessibility to services, to users. Otherwise, it's totally useless. And obviously, the capacity of digital services should improve this accessibility, no? The digitalization, the digital dimension should not worsen this accessibility, should improve, should make it easier, this accessibility. So very, very, very important is these touch points. These touch points may be different. We have enlisted at least 3, no? For the mobility, you can simply put there the credit card, you may buy a ticket, you can go to the ticket office, no, 4. You can buy a ticket at the vending machines, automatic vending machine, no? So we multiply the touch points to guarantee that accessibility is granted to anybody. And this is and every touch point may have different functions. Think about, oh my God, is it ATM as well? The cash machine?
Yeah.
Is ATM, it's the same? No,
Yes.
ATM, see, oh my God, yeah, it's the same. So, think about ATM. So ATM, what can you do at ATM points? I'm talking about the banks where you can cash draw money.
You can withdraw cash,
Deposit in some of them, not in all of them.
You can change bank statement also and so on.
Yeah. You can eventually charge your phones. Have you ever done that? Never? You can. In many, many ATM points, you can do that. So, actually, a machine like those that we see out of the banks is not designed for recharging the telephone. But some functions are added later on because they see how the users work and deal with, and this is much, much faster than entering the web and recharge the phone. Okay, many of us don't use this recharging function any longer because we have the prepayments, no, on our credit cards, but for elders this is very typical, because they have very old contracts. Go.
Can I say this could be a stupid thing, but when you set ATM point, like this communication between the tourists or the immigrants and the ATM, when we spoke about ATM here in Milan, it's confusing because ATM is the transport organization, ATM is an ATM point, but there is also ATM points in Duomo, in Cadorna, ATM points.
When
The
you are
name
saying
ATM is confusing because ATM is also a bank machine.
yeah, but ATM as a bank machine is in English, not in Italian.
But when immigrants, English migrants come to Italy,
Yes, this may be
ATM.
confusing, but this may be confusing also for English people, ATMs. But ATM as a mobility system, we don't talk about it as ATM. We talk about
I said
mobility.
this might be a stupid comment.
No, it's not stupid, but it's important that when you take a bus in Milano, you don't think about ATM, the company that is providing the bus. You talk about it as number 93, the bus number 93. You don't use this ATM as an identification of the entire mobility service provision.
But when you come, for example, in Piazza Duomo, and you need the ATM point for
I know.
the information about the transportation.
And the eventual, booking of a 1 week ticket or 1 month ticket.
Exactly.
This is ATM point.
It's
I
a
know.
bit confused because you can ask an Italian for do you know any ATM point? And it could relate in two ways.
Yeah,
ATM
this
point.
is a bit controversial, yes. But
It's
true, but they are completely different.
Exactly.
ATM in Milano is a mobility company name. ATM in English is the identification of money withdrawal.
exactly,
Okay.
but when these two overlaps in service.
Eventually, migrants will be even worse in this city, which is already not welcoming. I agree. I don't think they will change any of these two names. So, when we think about a service, we may have very different dimensions to understand. So, if you think about the fact that ATM has got also an app, through which you can buy tickets, you can plan your journey, you decide at what time to leave your apartment because the bus is just coming down and stop there, you can book your e-mobile system, whatever, through mobile app. Or you can do it through the web. You can buy a ticket or something through the web. Obviously, this is more or less the same as mobile. You can print the tickets. You can go through the same system to different services. The e-mobile are not supplied by the mobility company of Milano, and they are provided by third parties, and they are integrated in ATM, but not all of them, part of them. You have marketing strategies and advertisement. You have the product, so how it works, and you have the people to organize. There are many dimensions to be designed, many things to be considered all together, and all these things in a very specific arrangement, they shape the service experience. So, obviously, you can have different forms of this access is more or less the ATM shield information, ATM information point that you have inside any metro station. The touch point could be web applications or mobile application. You have the printing of some of your papers. Not all of them are very useful because many are left inside the machines. Obviously, there are dedicated touch points. So if you are an EasyJet member, you can get your EasyJet ticket on your mobile, or you have to manage the ticket through the wallet, for example, that we have as applications that we have in some mobiles. So very often, when we design services, we also need to take into account that they should be connected to other touch points. See the case of the payment of your recharge, of your mobile recharge in the withdrawal machines from the banks. And because if you put your boarding passes on your wallets, this means that your system, your own system, the wallet on the smartphone, is exchanging data with services outside of your smartphone. So there are specific authorizations, there are specific data going through, and this should worry you every time, because you are exchanging data with everybody outside there. and you don't know very often who with you are exchanging data. Obviously, there are touch points which are spatial, which have spatial characteristics. So if you enter a bank, this is a huge touch point for many more things that those you can do through the withdrawal machine. And we can design these touch points in many different manners. Before the recent time where the most of the bank services is run online, is web banking more or less. The offices of the bank were, buildings, big front office, touch points, every person for you, doing with you and for you whatever you wanted. Now that we are doing the most of the job on our side through the online system, the bank's touch points, so the physical offices of the banks have transformed a lot. The most of it is never touchable. The touch side is very simplified, very welcoming. You don't even perceive that they are offices, that they are almost dining. You make the meeting with the people on very small tables. This is because we have completely changed the user experience, completely. So when we think about services, we think about two different worlds, two different spaces. The space of customers and the space of the organization that is providing the services. And there is a line in between these two worlds, these two spheres, let's say, and this line is what we call the line of interaction. This is where all the touch points are collected, and we interact with the services through this interaction line and through our actions on the touch points. Obviously, there is what we say the space of visibility. Now, if you go into an office and you talk with the person in the ATM info point at Garibaldi station, you see at least a person, you see there is a desk, eventually a terminal on their desk, a laptop on their desk, so you see some of the actions. You don't get the most of it, especially if it is done through an interface like this, but you at least have the idea of what is part of the organization. We call this dimension, this portion of the service provision, visible, the visible space of a service organization. But the most of it is behind, is on the other side, as in is the line of internal interaction. This is where the most of the people of the service provision work, that you don't even know who they are, you don't even know how many they are, and you don't know at all what activities they have to perform to guarantee that every time you log in for your web bank service, web banking, I don't know what's the name, you see the exact amount of your budget, you see the perfect, correct list of operations that you did. You can ask for a money transfer or for, I don't know what else, payments or things like this. So you don't have the understanding of what's going on behind that lines that you perceive as visual portion of the interaction with you. What about buses without drivers? You know, the pink metro, the purple, what's the name? I don't remember. In English, what's the color? To me it's viola. La lilla, sorry, the lilla metro line. Do you see anybody there? Okay, so what is the line of visibility there? Come on, tell me. If you don't buy the ticket in the ticket office,
You will see people.
so there is no piece of the organization that you witness as, you know, doing something for you. You imagine that eventually there is someone behind a control dashboard that is, you know, executing command and control actions. Do you think is that someone?
Is AI?
Maybe. Do you imagine there is someone controlling all the mechanisms of the Lilla Metro?
Perhaps computers.
Please?
Perhaps computers.
Perhaps computers. Very, very, very often computers are doing the rituals operation, those that we repeat continuously. But do you really imagine that something like that exists without other things? Think about the fact that you find the metro wagons always clean. Don't you find them clean? More or less. Okay. I think if nobody was supposed to clean it up, so you can at least recognize that someone is, and is not a computer, is cleaning the metro wagons for your comfort when you travel in those. Is that right, in the coach?
I mean,
We don't have robots, that's true. Not in this moment. We will have eventually, but they are not there yet. So there are people cleaning it. So let's avoid to give for granted things like this. There is a very important piece of the cognition of fundamental rights that is going through these visions. Create the visions of who is working there, guaranteeing that your travel in the metro is done in a comfort manner. So there are also people there. Obviously, the most of it is done through computer, but there are many things done not with the computer. For example, if you need to repair, because Grazia Concilio went inside, was so crazy that with the umbrella broke up all the lights in the cage, no? There is someone repairing it. So, and this is part of the service provision, no? Management of the infrastructure, the management of the infrastructure, the management of the electricity, in some portions there may be automatic systems, in some other piece of the activities there may be human beings that we never see. So, if you think about getting a plane, what do we do? And we also don't like it, we wait for the boarding a lot. We see a couple of people there. Hopefully they talk rapidly enough to the microphone to tell us, okay, come on, boarding is happening. But obviously there is an entire backstage there. There is the flight crew, the pilots who are preparing the airplane, they are cleaning eventually, they are filling in with food the airplane, cleaning it up, checking the soap in the toilets, fuel, security check, lights, things like that. So there are many things that are being done to make sure that the service works properly. And this is obviously, while that was the front, so what we also see, for us it's easy to understand that the crew is preparing eventually, the things for us, messages, whatever, but there are some things that we don't see. For example, those who work on the ground, those who cannot, we see them sometimes from the windows. We see them putting the baggage in or out, no? Taking them out from the airplane. There are the operators, those who move us, the food mobilizers, or things like this. And an airport is much more than this. Is much, much, much more than this. And what we have highlighted, that those dotted circle, this is only what is obviously there. So they also sometimes appear to us. No? So this is the visible portion of the back office. We call it back office. Does anybody know what this is? Okay, I know what it is because I wrote it here. But any idea that there is a back office like this every time that you order a pencil with Amazon? You know how this back office is organized. This is one of the smartest services ever. This is the only smart service that grew so much during the COVID and they are for generations. They will be happy for generations. So tell me, how does it work? Do you know? Anybody knows how Amazon started to be?
But it used to sell only books.
Only books. They started by selling books. There is something that you cannot buy through Amazon these days, maybe cakes or ice cream. Better ice cream. I guess that even cakes may go through Amazon. Ice cream just because the expiry moment is very short. So, any idea how this is working? Do you know what these warehouses are? How many of them are in Italy? Do you know? No idea?
At least half a thousand.
No. Less. That's a tragedy. Much less. So they have these collection areas, I don't know, warehouse, they call it warehouse, which are, I don't know, regions wide, so big, where they collect things. The system is based, I guess, in Italy, something like 15, 20 points like this. They manage all the goods that are reaching Italy. You know, they go everywhere. And also, they use this warehouse for products that are leaving Italy towards a foreign country. Okay. Tell me more about it. Come on. When you order something with Amazon, does it come to you with an Amazon transport company? Oh, come on, you don't use Amazon.
No.
Amazon doesn't work in Peru, so I don't know.
So, come on, how do you get the goods?
I saw a locker that is outside.
Okay, there are lockers, but this came late. This was a couple of years, maybe 5 years ago.
There are other delivery services like BRT, GRS, and
So they outsource the last miles. They have incredible contractual agreements with delivery services. So but this was only later. Initially, they were doing it. They were doing it. Now they have to rely on third parties. So can you imagine how big is the legal office of Amazon? And this is back office. You don't even imagine how big it is. Do they only contractualize delivery? Hey, do you think this is the only thing that they need a contract for? Come on.
They need to manage all the applications, they need the lawyers.
You can buy medicines through Amazon. So they have contracts with the sellers. The sellers are not there to pay, just to be paid by you. They also pay Amazon. And for each of them, and as earlier they were big sellers, now you have the shop in the province of Naples that is selling at a very special price a perfume that even in the airport you would pay more. So there are not only big sellers there are shops, local shops who are selling through Amazon. Huh? So can you imagine they do contracts with it? Well, many of the contracts are automatized. If you stay on my rule or you go, that's the poem there, eh? Or you accept my rule or ciao. So most of them are automatized. You register as a seller on Amazon and you create the list of your product with images, whatever they ask you to provide. But for big sellers, they need a dedicated contract. So can you imagine how big it is? I don't want to tackle the ICT back office of Amazon. It will be quite a team, an army maybe of people, because you never find Amazon crashed. You may find Deutsche Telekom crashed. You can find, I don't know, Lufthansa crashed, the site of Lufthansa flight crashed. But Amazon is always up, always up. And we have no idea, the only thing we see is the interface. And if you have problems with Amazon, I have to say that I had a problem. I was cloned my credit card and I received the notification of a payment which I was not asked, which I did not ask. And there was the legal office talking to me per email in a very effective manner, because they helped me to make a certification to go to the police and stop the car. So they were incredible. I could not believe they were so supportive. This is part of the back office. And you know, you discover those portions of the back office because you need, not because it is there offered to you among many other informations that you get lost. No, because I needed it. Customer service, what's the problem? As soon as they understood it was a credit payment problem, they entered in direct contact to me. They made it, not me. They did it. They understood the relevance of the problem, they came in touch with me. This is an incredible back office of the service. So let's talk about the lock. Let's talk about the lock. Yellow locks that we see all over there. Also in Politecnico there are a couple. Why do they exist?
Because sometimes we aren't at home, or we have to simply just pass in that location at that time, so we are sure that our package is delivered and we can.
Okay, this is from the point of the users, the individual. Is there any other benefit associated there?
The benefit is that the delivery make less kilometers, because if the delivery services is moving house from house, consume a lot of oil and carburants and
Time for them, but there is also another option. They make totally crashing the traffic. So the delivery door to door is a crazy problem of our cities, doesn't it? Okay, so there are two problems. One is that you personalize the delivery. So it's up to you. You can choose a locker, you tell when, you go there when you want, there is no problem. The other option, the other topic is that they pay less the delivery, the last mile delivery, because this transport, this outsourced transport, they just go to the lock, and don't have to go all around. The third is that they create a small benefit to cities, less pollution, less traffic. Okay?
And we have to walk and respect the 15 minutes.
Hopefully we are not at home all the day, or not at home all the day, so it happens that we go to, I every day walk along a lock, but I don't use it very much. Since that I am a very good Amazon user, this is not the truth.
There are also thermal points, but there are also thermal points where there is not a lot of
Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Can you pick up your goods somewhere else?
Poste Italiane?
Okay? Make it a bit new, come on.
Yeah, I have an understanding that there are several random stores that actually have a contract with
Yeah,
Amazon.
yeah. So this is incredible. So the local shops, the proximity commercial system was very fragilized, strongly fragilized, first by malls. This is not new, no? Big superstore, big supermarket, big whatever, you go spend your holidays there if you are crazy enough, no? This is things, similar things. But it was also very much fragilized by the e-commerce. So when we were conceptualizing e-commerce at the very beginning, I have to say that Amazon was not in our thoughts. It was much more, okay, I get in touch with the shop, with another shop. We didn't think of this intermediary platform, which is becoming, okay, a big problem. But let's think about the fact that now many shops, many proximity shops are less fragile because the delivery of Amazon, and in general, not only Amazon, the delivery for DHL, for some delivery operators, is using them as lock. So coffee shops, libraries, food not very comfortable because they don't have storage in the shops available, so they have also to be compatible goods, no, with what you are selling. But this is creating a new regenerative power for some of the proximity shops who were really under risk to close. So these are very relevant touch points for delivery, for order, which are starting to be conceived in an innovative manner in our cities to reduce some of the fragilities, not because Amazon is worried about the fragility of our cities. I am not saying this. I am saying that they found it convenient. Fortunately, this time, under their convenience, there is also the benefits for some of those things that we are plugging in for example, the 15-minute city. There is no 15-minute city if you have to walk 45 minutes to buy bread. There is no 15 minutes if you have to go to the pharmacy pharmacy is considered a primary service, so fortunately they are there, but there are many things that we should do within the 15 minutes walk, And many of these 15 minutes walk have this potential to be transformed into touch point for the delivery. So, can you imagine how long do we have Amazon there? Come on, already. More or less. 20 years? How big is the evolution? On their own only. So, the service evolved a lot in what it is able to do, the network that it has been able to create, and it became from a threatening agent of the local commerce. In this moment is a regeneration agent of some areas of the cities, thanks to this. Even the lockers, they are very prone to be transformed, you know, in small service islands. If you put a locker together with the water house, you know, where you can fill in the bottles, and together with some of these, you know, automatic services, they could become, there are some attempts in some cities in this respect, sort of service islands for these multiple touch points. There was an experience made in Torino, funded by Telecom Italia, TIM, there you go, I was not remember the name, TIM, and they created in a couple of squares in Torino the fact for this delivery you need for this kind of things you need, you know, internet connection. So they were delivering the strong, powerful connection in those points where these kind of services could, you know, be installed easily and as drivers to the creation of new public spaces. Now, when then the projects end up, they stopped paying the internet connection, these spaces died. So it was not a very good experience there because there were this totem left there without any connection, which was not a big idea. So, as we were discussing, you would remember that we were talking about the fact that you can digitalize or you have to innovate your organization with services. We can see this very clearly with service provision. So while we can simply innovate the interfaces, which has been the case for many things. So we did not change that much, come on, our way to use airplanes, no? But the touch point towards this system is huge. We enter now the airports just by making the system reads our boarding passes. While earlier we had to go through many people control. Now we get to the electronic check almost without showing ourselves to anybody. So interfaces, we can just change the interfaces. We can innovate completely the service, so delivery, access to commerce, no, this was completely transformed. And through the transformation of services, or vice versa, obviously, we can get to policy innovations. Any policy needed there for e-commerce? What do you think? Do you know how much soil Amazon land consume? Come on, ask yourself, or just look for Amazon warehouse and see how big they are. Hectares. They have you know how it works? Maybe 6 years ago, more or less, Amazon was launching a call for cities to make their best proposal to have Amazon warehouse inside their municipal boundaries. So it's just a contrary, no? Usually cities do launch calls, no? For these kind of operators to get there, to make and solve problems. While now, it's just a contrary. contrary. So Amazon is saying, who wants me there? And they respond in many big numbers get there. Obviously they select a region, they don't want to be everywhere in the world, but can you understand what a sort of operator it is? So we need policies to orient some of the transformation. This is clear. These places are okay. Then there are problems with the ethicity of the work, of the job conditions. These are separate from us, although it should be considered. This is a story of interface innovation. This is okay. Some students like you, we were running a sort of competition among students to do something for sustainability. It was more or less 10 years ago. They designed this app. They were not even coders. They designed this app. This app is space-based. It detects where you are, allow you to make available some things that you don't use any longer at home, and make available for others who may need. And these others may query the system to check whether anybody is offering the things they need. And the query may be situated, so you look in your surroundings, or you can enlarge the space of search. Obviously, there is no sense if we have to take a book from Norway, so it stays more or less locally to allow you to get to this reusing system in a manner which is also sustainable from the point of view of transport. This is no longer called Tok Tok, which is like this. Do you have something for me? I need this. Do you have it? I knock at the door of my neighbors to ask whether they have sugar. Okay, it's not a case of sugar, but that's the name of the app. This app is called differently. There was a company buying the idea of this, very frugal if you think. This is not so, it's not very, but the interface was there with the pictures of the things, with your geographical position, like when you go on Booking, you know that you can check where the things are, and this is still working very well. Did we talk about this? Betty Goose. Okay, obviously there is an app for this. It works very well also without the app, but this is not the case of the interface innovation. This is changing completely the manner through which we bring our children to school. Those children who needs to be accompanied because they are young. That could be very risky to go to school alone. So this is changing completely. It's not that each parent or mother or father brings the children to the school, but there is a small, light, very trustful, because the parents know each other, know themselves, and you create this bus of children walking from home to school. There are bus stops, there are things like this. That works very well. Anybody heard about what happened in Calabria with this strange mayor? He was the mayor of a city which was shrinking. Heard about this phenomenon? So population was disappearing there.
Because in rural areas, cities are in a way of social desertification, because the people are moving to cities.
Desertification is an environmental.
Exactly, but you
social.
because people are moving to cities and moving to places where the services are good enough, and very rural areas are unenjoyed.
Okay, so this guy was trying to loose coupling to reduce the constraints necessary for immigrants to have an apartment rented or to be granted for an apartment, to start activities in the communities, and they were hosted, the immigrants were hosted in these cities, they could find a job, even among themselves. So, creating a sort of new urban society there. He was going through big legal problems because he was sort of challenging the norms on regular migrants, legal, procedures and so on. He was safe at the end, very, not punished because of this, and eventually the innovation stopped because when they started the legal problems against him, it was quite a story. So everything was stopped. The immigrants had to leave the cities. But this was a sort of lab to change policies for. We had these problems of shrinking cities in Italy, of abandoned centers, ancient centers, with the houses and apartments, which is even difficult to understand who they belong to, because they have 73 owners. How is this possible? Because in the legacy, procedures, they have been left from one elders to the nephew, and these nephews died and they left for generations. So in the end, many of these centers do have, apartments with an incredible amount of owners, and they were managing this in a less, let's say, less complex manner than the law, and proving that we can, imagine that cities are regenerated by these citizens, these new citizens, who don't need necessarily to live in the Big Apple, but just outside of war conditions. Big Apple, you know what I mean. Huh? Did you get the message? Not everybody wants to go to New York. They just want a quiet life. Okay, we will go through this later on. Let's make a break. I see that you are destroyed. My God, this class is horrible. Too big. It's too... No class.